Hello and welcome to the Gaming News Roundup. My name is Amata and this time I'm going to give you all the latest on the Elder Scrolls Online MMO as of the 5th of May 2012. Now I'm sure most of you have already seen the official announcement from Bethesda confirming that this game is being made, but I wanted to talk a little bit about the details that have officially been released. Now there is also a trailer that is a bit more of a teaser than a trailer because it doesn't really do much more than set the scene. It doesn't show any gameplay or anything at all. So there is that, and there should be a link on the screen now, so go and check it out if you haven't already seen it. But we're here to talk about what has already been confirmed. Now, just to clarify, these details have been leaked online via a PDF of Game Informer's upcoming cover feature of the game, just to clarify where these details are coming from. But this document reveals that development began in 2007 and that the people making the game number about 250. So this game has been in development for quite some time, but I don't think we're going to be seeing it until next year still. So obviously they're taking their time, taking it slow, which is good, especially with an MMO as well. But Bethesda know what they're doing. They're not going to rush out a title. I mean, there was about that gap between Oblivion and Skyrim, so I'll be very surprised if they'd be rushing it. But also, we know that basically this title kind of spans around the idea of what happens when hundreds of thousands of heroes all think that they should be Emperor. Which is interesting because obviously it kind of plays off the traditional storyline of their single player games like Skyrim, where you're a hero usually prophesied to come, like the Dragonborn or whatever, and you rise to power in numerous ways in whichever way you choose. You become the leader of the Fighters Guild or the Mages Guild or whatever guild you want and save the world basically. So I quite like that they've basically taken what the series is known for in terms of the character that you play in Skyrim and taking that and putting it in an MMO. Now it makes it very interesting for an MMO because of course there is going to be hundreds and thousands of players and they're all heroes trying to save the world, or maybe not. Maybe there's going to be the possibility to be just trying to destroy it or do something on the sort of antagonist route, which I'm sure they will do because you can obviously do some pretty much whatever you want in all of their Elder Scrolls games. So I definitely like this choice, and it's going to be interesting to see what effect this would actually have on the game world, because from the sound of that quote, it sounds as if they are kind of weaving it into the game itself, that there's thousands of heroes all fighting to be Emperor. Now, if that was happening in an actual world, whatever the setting of that world might be, it would obviously pretty much tear it apart. So I'm very interested to see how this is pulled off, and I really want to see more details about that thing in particular, because that interests me more. Well, I won't say more, it's one of the more interesting things about what they've announced about the game so far. Now, in terms of story, the MMO will have exactly what you'd expect from an Elder Scrolls game, with political scheming, demonic mischief, and lots and lots of strife, and just lots of NPCs crying at you to help them. Now, basically, the Tharn family and Manimarco, the King of Worms, have forged an alliance in an effort to take Tamriel. But this particular king is not the most trustworthy. He has also made a pact with Molag Bal, a Daedric prince who also has his ambition set on ruling the region. Other Daedric princes, such as Vermina, the Daedric Prince of Nightmares, will also be appearing in the game, which is very, very nice. Also, there'll be 3 player factions: the Ebonheart Pact, which will encompass Nords, Dunmer, Argonians; the Aldmeri Dominion, which will include Altmer, Bosmer and Khajiit; and the Daggerfall Covenant, which will include Bretons, Redguards and Orcs. Now, before you ask, the Fighters Guild and Mages Guild will also be making an appearance, along with my very, very favourite, the Dark Brotherhood. The inclusion of the Dark Brotherhood specifically makes me very happy indeed. I always make it a point to join the Dark Brotherhood in every Elder Scrolls game that they're in. I did it in Oblivion and got all the way up to the rank of listener, and I've pretty much completed all of the stuff in the Brotherhood in Skyrim as well, apart from the quests that you get from the Night Mother that just seem to endlessly respawn, and they're just there, so you can still have something to do and gain money through the Dark Brotherhood, which is nice, because in Oblivion, obviously, once you got to the rank of listener, literally all you would do is go to the statue in some town, I can't remember what it was called, and pick up money and pass whatever assassinations have been asked to the Night Mother, which is a bit boring and a bit of a shame, because I actually really enjoyed the Dark Brotherhood quests in that game. So, that was a nice addition for me. Anyway, bit of a tangent there. Now, also according to this document, the game will be fully voice acted, and it's been suggested that the game will be using the Hero engine, which powers BioWare's Star Wars: The Old Republic, and visually has been likened to Rift and EverQuest 2. So, some interesting decisions there, as I'm sure you will agree. I'm sure it'll please most of you that those guilds and stuff would make an appearance. I didn't really think that they wouldn't have those, because they would have known that people were going to want them. They're like a staple of the series. So I'm definitely pleased that they've got that. As for the graphics engine, it makes sense to use that. I mean, Old Republic is a fairly nice looking game, and visually it sounds like they're going similar to Rift, which I quite like actually. Rift has a fairly decent graphic style. What I'm more not worried about, what I want to know about is the gameplay. Is it going to be sort of hotkey WoW style, or is it going to maybe follow in Guild Wars 2 kind of footsteps and do something a little more different? That's what I really want to know at the moment, but there hasn't really been any information on that yet. Now, they have also announced some very cool news, which I really, really like. They've said that players will be able to venture to Elsewhere, home of the Khajiit, and Somerset Isle, where the Ultima are from, but these places might not be accessible at launch. I especially like the addition of Elsewhere, because I too tend to play Khajiit with Elder Scrolls games, and any game that you can play as a Khajiit, obviously. So I've always been interested to be able to visit their home place, because obviously there aren't many more Khajiit in the game other than maybe a few travelling salesman kind of types, travelling merchants and things like that. So it'd be interesting to see where the Khajiit come from and what their home is like. So I'm very pleased by that. I mean, I'd be tempted to play it just to visit Elsewhere, to be honest. So that addition definitely pleases me. Now, in case you're wondering, PvP will take place in Cyrodiil, with the three factions battling over to take over keeps, farms and mines, with the ultimate goal being to take over and hold the Imperial City, which will reward you with a faction-wide bonus. So I'm guessing that everyone within that faction would get that bonus if your faction currently happens to hold the Imperial City. And also, the most skilled player within the faction is crowned as the Emperor of the capital when it's conquered. Now, for all of you people who are completionists, the MMO will have high-level raids and heroic dungeons available as end-game content. Now, I like the sound of that, but the only thing that kind of is a bit of a concern is that the most skilled player within the faction. I'm just kind of wondering, how are they going to define who is the most skilled player? Is it just going to be purely stat-based? How many kills? How many deaths? Stuff like that? I would like to know more about that particular thing, because if they do it wrong, it could be quite bad. But I reckon they'll probably do it purely off stats and things like that, because what other way can they do it, really? Anyway, speaking of PvP and fighting and all that good stuff, well, some information we do have about a combat is that it will revolve around stamina management. So obviously, as everyone who's played an Elder Scrolls game will know, stamina is consumed by sprinting, blocking, interrupting, and all that good stuff. So the players will have to keep a constant eye on this bar, although if it regenerates anything like it does in the single player games, I don't think it would be too much of a concern. I've always been one to carefully watch my stamina use, even in Skyrim and such like that. It's not really something you need to be super careful about. You just need to be sensible and not constantly use strong attacks or block or whatever. So it's nice that they've added that in, but that's again a staple of the series, so yeah. Anyway, that's all the information that has been announced as of today. That'd be the 5th of May, as I said. So hopefully you found this video somewhat informative, and I would like to very much hear your thoughts and views on everything that I've said and the details that have been announced, and also your hopes as well for this particular game. I mean, as I've said throughout, I'm not much of an MMO person. I've never really played an MMO, although I will probably be taking a look at Guild Wars 2 when it comes out, because that looks like it's doing things very differently from the traditional MMO. But this is very much intriguing. The fact that it's set in the Elder Scrolls universe obviously does help it quite a lot. I imagine that's going to be the deciding factor for most people whether or not they're going to buy this game. This is obviously going to sell very well, or maybe they'll go free to play, I don't know. There's no confirmation on that either yet. But, as I was saying, this sounds very, very good from everything they've said. It sounds like they're doing it with the help of a company who have made MMOs in the past, and that's definitely helping them, because obviously Bethesda usually focus on single player titles, so I think a few people were a bit concerned that they're kind of going into territory that's very overwhelming and they don't really know too much. But it seems like they've learned not only from the companies they're working with knowledge, but also from other games as well, and how their pitfalls and troubles and how they've done stuff right as well. So what I've heard so far is pretty encouraging, and I probably will be checking this game out when it comes out, and obviously be keeping my eye out for more information, which I'll definitely discuss with you guys at the time. But yeah, anyway, as I said, feel free to comment with your thoughts, opinions and hopes for this game. I really want to hear what you guys think of all this, because obviously we're all the ones that are going to be playing it. It's your opinions that matter. Anyway guys, I hope you found this video somewhat enjoyable, and I'll see you again soon.